The plant that caused me the most trouble over the last 4 summers did not blow in from a neighbor's yard. I paid for it myself. I loaded it into my car. I carried it home in a nursery pot with a tag that said exactly the things I wanted to read. Low maintenance, fast growing, beautiful all season. What that tag left out was that I would spend the next 4 summers on my hands and knees in July heat trying to undo 30 minutes at the nursery. What it never mentioned was that the seeds from that one planting decision would still be viable in my soil 30 years from now. I am not exaggerating that number. I have been gardening for over 2 decades. I have made expensive mistakes, and I have watched careful, experienced gardeners make the exact same ones because nobody gave them the full story before they planted. Today, I am giving you that story. 11 plants, real consequences, real zones, and the well-behaved alternatives that actually give you what you were looking for in the first place. If you are new here, welcome to The Gardening Grandma. Hit that subscribe button right now. Let us get into it. Plant 1, Morning Glory, 30 years. That is how long Morning Glory seeds can survive in your soil. Fully viable, fully capable of germinating without any help from you whatsoever. A single planting decision this spring could be leaving an active problem in that same bed for the next 3 decades. In the first season, Morning Glory is genuinely stunning. Direct sown seeds produce fast-climbing vines covered in trumpet flowers in purple and blue that open every morning like stained glass, catching early light. It earns its reputation completely in year 1. Here is what most gardeners never discover until the damage is already done. Every bloom is quietly building a seed pod, and every seed inside has one of the toughest seed coats in the plant world. These seeds do not wash away. They do not rot through a wet winter. They sit and wait, and the vine roots at every node it touches, every contact point with soil, becomes a new root system anchoring it further. One vine can envelop a 6-foot shrub in a single season without choosing what to climb. It goes over your roses, your boxwood, and the perennial bed you spent 3 years building with equal indifference. My rule now is simple. If you love that trumpet flower look, grow it in a container placed on concrete or pavement. The cardinal climber gives you the same fast climbing habit, attracts hummingbirds all season, and does not produce the same volume of viable seeds. One plant out, one plant in, no 30-year problem. Plant 2, Rose of Sharon, 25,000. That is how many seeds a single established Rose of Sharon can drop in a single season, and those seeds germinate at extraordinarily high rates. Within 2 to 3 years of planting one, you will have a dense ring of fast-growing woody seedlings circling the parent plant and spreading into your lawn, your vegetable beds, your ornamental borders, and your driveway cracks. A Rose of Sharon seedling develops a taproot within 3 to 4 weeks of germination that is already too deep to hand pull cleanly. Here is what most gardeners never discover until the damage is already done. The sterile cultivar marketing that has become so common, varieties like Lil' Kim or Blushing Bride, marketed as low-fertility triploids, does not tell the whole story. Those cultivars do produce fewer seedlings in the first few years, but triploid plants are not permanently sterile. In warmer zones, they regain fertility over time. By year 5 or 6, they are producing meaningful seed quantities again. The problem does not disappear. It simply arrives a few seasons later than it would with the standard type. My rule now is simple. Replace it with native swamp rose mallow. The summerific varieties give you enormous, show-stopping flowers and die back to the ground each winter, which eliminates the woody seedling problem entirely. Plant 3, Borage. Every companion planting book will tell you to grow borage in your vegetable garden. Repels hornworms, feeds pollinators, edible flowers, edible leaves. On paper, it sounds like a gift to every home food gardener who has ever wanted a do-everything plant. Here is what those books quietly leave out. Borage is a pioneer species, which in botanical terms means it is biologically designed to colonize fertile, disturbed soil as fast as possible. Your raised bed with years of amended compost and good drainage is exactly the kind of soil borage was built to take over. A single plant reaches 3 to 4 feet tall and 4 to 6 feet wide at maturity, shading out everything beside it and competing aggressively for water and nutrients. Here is what most gardeners never discover until the damage is already done. The stems and leaves are covered in stiff, bristly hairs that cause contact dermatitis in a significant number of people. Redness, itching, swelling. You cannot remove mature borage barehanded. When you have 60 of these plants that need to come out before they drop a second generation of seeds, you need gloves, long sleeves, and sometimes eye protection because those hairs become airborne while you work. My rule now is simple. If you want pollinator support in a vegetable bed without the management problem, grow Phacelia instead. Equally attractive to bees, it sets seed far more modestly and will not take over everything around it. Plant 4. Mexican feathergrass. A single established clump of Mexican feathergrass produces millions of feathered seeds per season. Botanists have studied and counted millions per plant. Each seed carries a long twisted awn that catches air and carries it an exceptional distance from the parent plant. Those seeds do not land in open lawn where you would notice and mow them down. They lodge between flagstones, settle into retaining wall crevices, and drift into the crowns of your slow-growing alpine plants and succulents, germinating right inside those tight rosettes and splitting them apart from the inside over 2 or 3 seasons. Here is what most gardeners never discover until the damage is already done. Mexican feathergrass is classified as invasive in California, where it has naturalized across native grasslands and displaced indigenous plant communities. Across zones 8 through 11, anywhere this plant has been introduced, it carries the same naturalization potential. Full eradication requires a minimum of 3 consecutive years of active hand weeding just to exhaust the seed bank. 3 years of dedicated effort to undo one afternoon at the nursery. My rule now is simple. Use blue oatgrass or native prairie dropseed instead. Prairie dropseed is one of the most underrated ornamental grasses in American horticulture. Fine-textured, graceful, fragrant in late summer, and stunning amber gold in autumn. Plant 5. Garlic chives. Garlic chives appear in virtually every beginner herb garden guide, and everything those guides tell you is accurate. The flat leaves are harvestable all season. The white flower clusters in late summer are genuinely pretty and attractive to pollinators. And every single one of those appealing qualities is precisely what makes this plant a significant management problem in any garden with open soil. Those flower heads form seed pods carrying dozens of seeds each, wind dispersed, gravity dropped, carried by irrigation runoff across your entire property. They germinate in gravel paths, in driveway expansion joints, and inside the crowns of ornamental grasses you have spent years cultivating. Here is what most gardeners never discover until the damage is already done. Below the surface, garlic chives develop a dense network of small bulbs that strongly resist hand pulling. When you grab a mature clump and pull, you get the tops. The bulb network stays in the soil and resprouts. You are back in the same spot 2 weeks later doing the exact same work. My rule now is simple. If you want to keep them for cooking, deadhead every single flower head before the petals begin to drop. Not most of them, every one. Cut each flower stalk at the base the moment you see petals starting to fade. Miss one season and you will spend the next 2 years dealing with the consequence. Drop a comment below and tell me which plant on this list surprised you most. I read every single one. And if you have not subscribed yet, please do. New gardening tips every week right here, and it is completely free. Plant 6. Creeping bellflower. Forget what this plant looks like above the soil for a moment. Think about what is happening 18 inches straight down while you are standing there admiring those violet bellflowers. Creeping bellflower operates on 2 fronts simultaneously. Above the soil, it is dropping thousands of viable seeds throughout the entire growing season. Below the soil, at the exact same time, it is pushing a deep, fleshy, carrot-like root system 18 inches into the ground, branching laterally and weaving through the root zones of your established shrubs and most prized perennials. Here is what most gardeners never discover until the damage is already done. When you try to pull those roots, they snap. They are brittle by design. Every fragment left in the soil, even a piece the size of your thumbnail, regenerates into a complete new plant. You are not weeding when you pull creeping bellflower. You are propagating it. Professional landscapers in the Midwest charge between $400 and $800 to treat a mature infestation because of the excavation labor required. My rule now is simple. If you want that cottage garden aesthetic, grow peach-leaved bellflower instead. Clump forming, controlled, genuinely beautiful, and it stays exactly where you put it. Plant 7, Malabar spinach. Malabar spinach is sold as the heat-tolerant answer to regular spinach bolting in summer, and that recommendation is technically accurate. Regular spinach gives up in July. Malabar spinach does not. It keeps producing glossy edible leaves through the hottest months of the year. Here is what that recommendation leaves out. This is a climbing vine that reaches 10 to 15 feet in a single season. It does not stay in your raised bed. It climbs your tomato cages, your pepper stakes, your bean trellises. Its weight pulls down lightweight trellis structures. It blocks light from adjacent crops by sheer mass. Here is what most gardeners never discover until the damage is already done. When it flowers, and it flowers in enormous quantities, it sets dark purple, fleshy berries loaded with viable seeds. Gardeners in zones 8 through 11 who have grown it consistently report the same experience. Removing volunteer seedlings the following spring takes more time than the entire harvest did. The math does not work in your favor. My rule now is simple. If you need heat-tolerant summer greens in a managed bed, grow sweet potato leaves for harvest or New Zealand spinach instead. Both handle summer heat, both stay manageable, and neither of them turns your spring into a removal project. Plant 8, common columbine. You pay for a named columbine cultivar, a deep burgundy or a pristine white or a vivid two-tone that stopped you in your tracks at the nursery. It blooms beautifully the first year. The following season, seedlings appear around it and you are genuinely pleased. Free plants. Then they bloom and look nothing like what you chose. Muddy purple, generic pink, disappointing. Here is exactly why. Columbines cross-pollinate freely and indiscriminately with every other columbine nearby, regardless of cultivar. The resulting seeds are complex genetic hybrids, and those hybrids almost always revert toward the dull common species type. You paid for a named variety and got the discount version. Here is what most gardeners never discover until the damage is already done. Columbine seed pods are spring-loaded. They dry, contract, and snap open, physically flinging seeds up to 10 feet from the parent plant directly into the crowns of your hostas, your peonies, your most established perennials. My rule now is simple. Grow a single cultivar in isolation deadhead consistently, or embrace one variety knowingly and let it naturalize. The native red columbine and Colorado blue columbine are genuinely valuable wildflowers worth growing on purpose, with full awareness of what they do. Plant 9, feverfew. Year 1 gives absolutely no warning of what is coming. 2-foot mounds, pretty white daisy flowers, a pleasant herbal scent in the foliage. You think you have found a low-maintenance gem for a gap in the border. By year 3 you will have hundreds, not dozens, hundreds, emerging from your mulch layer, sprouting inside your herb containers, growing through the crowns of your perennials, and filling every patch of bare soil within 30 feet of the original plant. Here is what most gardeners never discover until the damage is already done. The seedlings are nearly invisible against garden soil until they develop their characteristic ferny leaves at 4 to 6 weeks of age. By the time you recognize them, their root systems are already establishing and the window for easy removal has already begun to close. My rule now is simple. If you love that white daisy aesthetic, grow white-flowered purple coneflower instead. A true American native, it self-seeds only modestly, returns reliably in zones 3 through 9, and supports native pollinators in a way that feverfew simply cannot match. Plant 10, Ladybells. This one enters your garden through a case of mistaken identity. Ladybells looks nearly identical to Campanula, the bellflower family, and is frequently mislabeled at garden centers, sold as an ornamental bellflower, with nothing on the tag to indicate what you are actually taking home. Gardeners who already have a creeping bellflower problem will sometimes buy ladybells inadvertently and add a second spreader to the same bed, believing they have purchased something different. Here is what most gardeners never discover until the damage is already done. Ladybells spreads reliably through self-seeding and develops fleshy roots that resist removal once mature. It is not as catastrophic as creeping bellflower, but it does not belong in a border you care about maintaining. My rule now is simple. When you want a true clump-forming bellflower, look specifically for peach-leaved bellflower, variety Tachyon Blue. That is the one worth planting. Zones 3 through 8, well-behaved, genuinely beautiful, and it stays exactly where you put it. Plant 11. Tansy. Companion planting books across America recommend tansy as a natural pest repellent near roses, potatoes, and fruit trees. And I want to be honest, there is some limited evidence behind that claim. But here is what companion planting literature consistently fails to put in the same paragraph as that pest repelling recommendation. Tansy spreads through two mechanisms simultaneously, self-seeding above ground and aggressive rhizomes below ground. Surface removal accomplishes almost nothing. When you pull the top growth and feel like you have dealt with it, the rhizome network underground is completely undisturbed. The plant rebuilds within 2 to 3 weeks without interruption. Here is what most gardeners never discover until the damage is already done. Tansy is toxic to livestock and mildly toxic to humans if ingested, a fact that does not appear prominently in companion planting guides and matters to anyone with children, pets, or animals accessing the garden. My rule now is simple. If you want companion planting support without a rhizome management strategy, grow nasturtiums, sweet alyssum, or phacelia. None of them require a containment plan to keep them from taking over your bed, and none of them carry a safety concern alongside the gardening advice. If you already have one or more of these plants in your garden right now, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not behind. You have the information now. The most important thing you can do immediately is stop the seed cycle. Deadhead every fading flower before the seed coat cracks. Not most of them, every one. Pull seedlings the moment they emerge in spring, when root systems are still shallow and clean removal is still possible. And never put seeds, seed heads, bulbs, or root fragments from any of these plants into your home compost bin. Home compost heaps do not consistently reach the temperatures needed to kill viable seeds or living root tissue. You would not be composting them. You would be incubating them and spreading them across every bed you touch with that finished compost. Every plant on this list is currently for sale at a nursery in your state with attractive foliage, full flowers, and a tag that tells you almost none of this. That is the conversation this channel has every week. The full story, before you plant, not after. Pick the one on this list that surprised you most and leave it in the comments. I read every single one. If this helped you, hit subscribe and share it with one gardener you know who has ever grabbed something beautiful at the nursery and later wished someone had stopped them. Until next time, happy gardening. Take care of yourselves and take care of those beautiful gardens of yours.